With us now, Democratic Representative Jennifer McClellan. She is from Virginia. She is also a member of the Biden-Harris 2024 campaign's National Advisory Board. That's pretty fancy. Congresswoman, thank you for making time for us today. Okay, these protests, no matter what, have put the president in a tough spot. There's a portion of his base that sympathizes strongly with the movement behind the protests, and that could be enough. You can look at the map and say, Michigan, this could be enough to cost him enough votes in swing states to be a problem. But then, on the other side, you have this big swath of persuadable voters who are anxious about the unrest that they see. This is getting to be a real problem. How is the president going to unstick himself from these unhappy choices?
Well, I think the president is focused on striking the right balance between protecting the free speech and right of the students to assemble peacefully with enforcement of the laws. And as your prior guest pointed out, when laws are broken, there need to be consequences. But he's also focused on making sure those consequences are proportionate. He's also very focused on making sure that the reason for the protests is resolved, and that is working to resolve the conflict in the Middle East. But I would point out that the former president, when he was dealing with protests in cities and on college campuses, asked his Secretary of Defense and the Joint Chiefs of Staff if they could just shoot the protesters. And I think he's made clear if he were president right now, he would not strike that balance. He would err on the side of authoritarian overstepping and squashing free speech and assembly.
Okay, NewsNation has confirmed that CIA Director Bill Burns is in Cairo for talks about a possible hostage deal with Hamas that could finally bring this conflict to an end. You're on the Armed Services Committee. What can you tell us? What do you see from your point of view?
We are very close. We're closer than we have been in several months to a deal that would involve a ceasefire, a release of the hostages, and put us on a path to long-term peace. And that is what we need to get to as soon as possible. And the administration has been involved in those talks for months. And what I am hearing is we're closer than we have been since probably the pause in November. And I'm very hopeful that we will reach a resolution soon.
Okay, now I'm going to ask you to put your campaign hat back on. And this would be a real godsend for the president in his reelection effort, right? Getting a deal, bringing this to a close before the heat of the summer. Am I right in reading that this, I know it's just a good thing to do, period, but this would be a boon to the incumbent to get this done right now, right?
I mean, it certainly would be helpful politically, but I think he's focused as commander-in-chief on doing it for the long-term peace in the region, regardless of whether there's a political benefit or not. But it certainly would be helpful.
Okay. I want to play for you a clip of a new ad. You probably already heard it. It's set to hit battleground states, and it's aimed at motivating Hispanic male voters with concerns about access to abortion. Let's take a listen.
And a guy like Donald Trump that attacks women, takes away their freedom, and brags about it,
proud to have done it.
That's not tough. If he wants to take any more freedoms away from my 3 daughters, he'll have to come through me first.
Now, I know that there is a deep strain of social conservatism in the Hispanic community in these United States, and a lot of that takes issue with elective abortion. Is this ad sort of intended to address that part of it because it's setting him up as a protector of his daughter's rights?
I think this ad is designed to show that regardless of your personal beliefs around elective abortion, most Americans, 2/3 of them, and particularly in the Latino community and the Black community, but across a wide swath of demographics, most Americans want abortion to be legal in most or all cases, and they particularly want decisions around health care to be left between providers and patients without government coming in and imposing its views, not based on medicine, not based on science, not based on what's in the best interest of that family. They are more concerned about protecting reproductive freedom. And the only candidates that are fighting for that are Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, whereas Donald Trump has talked about not only bragging that he is responsible for Roe falling, which has left over 40% of women of reproductive age living in a state with a ban, but he has said he would support a worldview where states are tracking pregnant patients, where they are punishing patients and providers for providing the health care that they believe that their circumstances require. And that is an abhorrent idea for most Americans.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.